Here's your 10-minute warning. Big Ten TED Live starts in 10 minutes. Welcome, Big Ten fans. This is Big Ten Ted Live. And hello, everybody, and welcome to Big Ten Ted Live. It is the first Big Ten Ted Live of the year 2023. Hope everybody had a wonderful new year. Hope you all enjoyed as much as you could those New Year's Eve football games. I know I did up in a cabin in Carlton, Minnesota, in beautiful Jay Cook State Park. But here we are, right here, right now, in 2023, ready to embark on another great year. I'm Big Ten Ted here on Big Ten Ted Live. Here's what we got today on the program. I've kind of been holding off on it for a little bit, but I am going to talk about Jim Harbaugh, okay, because there's a lot going on right now. Okay, people are putting out statements on social media, contracts being worked. There's a lot of information going on right now. So I'm going to give my take on, would Michigan almost be better off if Jim Harbaugh went to the NFL? We'll talk about that. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So we're going to talk about Jim Harbaugh. We're also going to talk about our fearless leader. Kevin Warren is becoming the president and CEO of the Chicago Bears. So we are going to talk about that as well. We'll get to that here as the show goes on. What does it mean for the Big Ten? Right? Because if you looked at commissioners before Kevin Warren, all right, this is a 10, 20, 30-year job. This is something that you strive to get to. This is the top of the mountain. What this tells me is this was not the top of the mountain for Kevin Warren. So where do we go? He's created a lot of change. We'll get to that here later on. I also want to get to some transfer quarterback stuff in the Big Ten. Haven't really touched on it too much. Want to touch on it here today on this show. Hudson Card is transferring into Purdue from Texas. Luke Altmeyer is transferring into Illinois from Ole Miss. Who will have a bigger impact at the quarterback position as a transfer in the Big Ten Conference? I honestly think Tanner Mordecai and Cade McNamara are maybe going to be your top transfer quarterbacks. I think there's a pretty decent gap there between 1A and 1B, but I think there's going to be a pretty decent gap. But after that, right, these were two pretty good programs, Illinois and Purdue in 2022. Where will they go here going forward? How big of an impact are they going to make here going forward? Going to take care of some housekeeping as we get into the program here on Big Ten Ted. Sometimes when the comments really get flowing, there's a lot of comments. It's hard for me to get to all of them. A super chat is a great way to support the channel. Also, it is a way to make your comment stand out. So make sure you do that if the comments really get flowing here. Also, Twitter is a great spot to find me as well, at Big Ten Ted on Twitter. Give that a follow. A lot of news over there, a lot of other opinions over there from your boy here, Big Ten Ted, on Twitter. Also, here's something that we're going to try for today. For the first time, I'm going to open up the Big Ten Ted phone lines. 715-600-2150. So what I'm going to try to do a segment, and then we'll talk about it, comments and chats, calls. Going to start the next segment, comments and calls, chat, etc. So we'll have that open to everybody as well here today. So let's get into the action. Let's talk about our buddy Jim Harbaugh. Will he stay or will he go? That's the question that nobody knows the answer to as it pertains to Jim Harbaugh. Look, there's no doubt about it. Jim Harbaugh, maybe other than Kirby Smart and Nick Saban, Jim Harbaugh is the best coach in the entire country. You could also maybe throw Dabo in there as well. So What I'm about to say may seem a little weird, considering that he's the third, in my opinion at least, the third best coach in the country. Some might even consider him maybe even higher than that. But it might seem a little weird, but let's kind of dive into it a little bit. Because Jim Harbaugh he's won every place that he's gone. Jim Harbaugh has won at San Diego. He won at Stanford. He'd won with the 49ers, and now he's winning here at the University of Michigan. The question needs to be asked because of the constant, will he or won't he? Would Jim Harbaugh going to the NFL be best for Michigan going forward? Because this constant will he or won't he the last two seasons has led to Penn State leapfrogging Michigan as the number 2 recruiting class in the Big Ten the last two seasons. It's resulted in some transfer portal exits. Now, I get they're doing pretty well in terms of bringing in talent in the transfer portal this season, but you got to think the more this goes on, year by year by year by year, players are going to notice. Players are going to notice that maybe Jim Harbaugh being the head coach at Michigan isn't exactly where he wants to be. It's not the top of the mountain for old Jimmy boy. And it's not going to have maybe a huge difference right here and right now. Okay, they still might go out 12 wins and 13 wins. They still might go out and win Big Ten championships. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's going to hurt them eventually. So you got to ask yourself, would letting Jim Harbaugh leave, you don't really let him leave, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. If he goes to the NFL and then you bring in somebody else that's maybe a little bit more stable, somebody that players know is going to be in there for the long haul, because right now, if a Michigan player commits to Jim Harbaugh, because that's what you're doing. You're committing to coaches now. That's the way it's always been. You're not really committing to a school. You're committing to a coach. You're committing to a system. Okay, all that stuff. So when you look at it from that standpoint, I believe Michigan might be in a better spot if Jim Harbaugh goes away. Because if Jim Harbaugh stays, you're going to have to continue to pay him. Eventually he's going to want to be the highest paid head coach because of the leverage that he has in a possible exit towards the National Football League, right? Because now you might be paying $13 million, $14 million, $15 million, whereas you could have a stable head coach come into the University of Michigan there for about $8 million, $9 million, could save the university $6 million, possibly with Jim Harbaugh. But to me, it's the constant distraction, right, that Jim Harbaugh brings, especially at one of the key times in the college football calendar. That's your early signing day. That's your transfers right after the Big Ten regular season. It's all that stuff. And I believe that there's coaches out there. There are coaches, marquee coaches, that would leave their jobs and come to the University of Michigan. Okay, because what Jim Harbaugh has done at Michigan has been great. No question about it. And he's been a big part of the turnaround in Ann Arbor, Michigan. But it doesn't mean another guy can come in there and use that Michigan brand to his advantage. There's no reason another guy couldn't come in there and have the same type of results as Jim Harbaugh. It's almost like we all know about Michigan and their Michigan man syndrome, so to speak. And, they've used that term for decades upon decades upon decades. And maybe they're almost treating Jim a little bit different because he is a Michigan man. And they're trying to keep him around despite the large price tag that it might require to keep him around at the University of Michigan when he could go off to the NFL and they could bring in somebody else. So I think that is a big point, I think, that needs to be talked about right now, is the status with Jim Harbaugh. Would it be better to bring in a different coach right now? Because, man, when you look at Jim Harbaugh and you look at the body of work that he's put together, there's no doubt how good of a coach he is. Look, no one's doubting that. Like, he's going to go to the NFL and things are probably going to turn out fine. But at the end of the day, it's just, I don't know. It's just a tough situation that he's kind of put Michigan in. I'm not going to lie. I think he's kind of put Michigan into this position that's kind of hasn't been a great position, so to speak. But this is a job that can bring in just about anybody. And maybe it will bring in just about anybody. Yeah, that remains to be seen here as we go forward with Jim Harbaugh. Will he or won't he go to the NFL? And we really haven't seen, and maybe one thing that's kind of the weird part about this is maybe his lack of offers to go to the NFL, right? I believe he's got interest. I don't know if he's just using this as a bargaining tool. I firmly believe that Jim Harbaugh has interest in going to the National Football League. It's just that nobody's really offering him, which kind of makes it weird. It makes it weird, but there's other good coaches out there. There's your Sean Paytons and others that are out there in the NFL head coaching market. But, that's just kind of where we stand right now. Want to progress into my next point. So we're going to get to Kevin Warren. We're going to talk about his exit from the Big Ten Conference. We're also going to talk about the Luke Altmeyer and Hudson Card comparison. But before I get into that, I just want to briefly mention something. I want to mention today, Wisconsin got a commit from C.J. Williams. Why is this a big deal? Is this a big deal? It is. C.J. Williams was a top 100 recruit in the recruiting rankings last season. It would have been 2022 recruiting rankings. Went to USC as a freshman because of Addison and those transfers and a lot of movement and, some other guys, some upperclassmen getting a lot more opportunities at wide receiver for USC. He didn't get a lot of the attention, so to speak. And now he enters the transfer portal, and now he's going to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is in a holy crap type of situation because now they might have, outside of Ohio State, Wisconsin might have one of the best wide receiving corps in the entire country. Or I should say the country. I should say the Big Ten. Now, maybe not. Who knows? Maybe when all is said and done, maybe it'll be the entire country. But when all is said and done, it might be the Big Ten Conference. Because you got C.J. Williams. You've got Chemry. You've got Skylar Bell. Of course, at quarterback, you're going to have Tanner Mordecai, among a bunch of others that are in that quarterback room. Crazy just how many guys have transferred into Wisconsin. So it's crazy right now, but I just wanted to briefly mention that about C.J. Williams transferring in to the University of Wisconsin. They're putting together a big one. They're putting together a big-time class right now at the University of Wisconsin. They are definitely a team to watch out for in the Big Ten West this season. They're going to be doing some serious damage. I firmly believe that. They're going to be doing big-time damage in the Big Ten Conference. No doubt about it. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about Kevin Warren, okay? Because it was rumored a couple of weeks ago that he was going to leave the Big Ten for the Chicago Bears. He was a finalist, and now it was announced today that he is indeed going to be leaving the Big Ten for the Chicago Bears job. So let's talk about this. Kevin Warren on his way out of the Big Ten Conference, and Kevin Warren on his way in to the office to be at the... Kevin Warren on his way out of the Big Ten, and Kevin Warren on his way in to be the next president and CEO of the Chicago Bears. Look, no matter who takes over next for Kevin Warren as the next commissioner of the Big Ten Conference, I firmly believe they've got some pieces to pick up because Kevin Warren created a lot of change in his tenure as the commissioner of the Big Ten Conference. Okay, you talk about, remember the alliance? Remember that? He created and destroyed it. Okay, remember that alliance? You know, you got the additions of USC and UCLA because it was those additions that really killed off the alliance, so to speak. And then you have your television deal as well, your TV deal that has been a big part of this as well. So when I look at Kevin Warren and the impact that he made, he definitely, like, whether you like Kevin Warren or whether you don't like Kevin Warren, what you can't argue with is that he made an impact. He made a big time impact in a short period of time in just 3 seasons, or 3 years, I should say, as the commissioner of the Big Ten Conference. Okay, so whoever is the next commissioner of the Big Ten, they're going to have to take those pieces. They're going to have to take USC and UCLA. They're going to have to take that TV deal. They're going to have to take those pieces, all of that change that Kevin Warren created, and they're going to have to try to put it forth, and they're going to have to try to make it, and they're going to have to try to do something with that. So whoever it is, I think losing my train of thought here. Whether it's Gene Smith, the current athletic director at Ohio State, whether it is Jim Phillips, who's the current commissioner of the ACC, there's a lot of options for people. There's a lot of options, I think, to who's going to be the next commissioner of the Big Ten Conference. And whoever it is going to have a lot of work to do to see. Do they want to kind of continue with what Kevin Warren left off? Do they want to go in a different direction? So that's going to be something that people are going to have to talk about, something people are going to have to worry about as well. We've got our appearance from Big Ten Johnny. Just your resident Denver Broncos fan chiming in saying, no Harbaugh. No Harbaugh. I've heard others say that. Jim Harbaugh has been successful, but it's been a minute. 2014 might have been the last year he coached the San Francisco 49ers. A lot has changed in the NFL since then. Right? There's no question about that. So there's that. So we're going to move on here to our last topic. Our last topic being the comparison between Hudson Card and Luke Altmeyer. That's what I want to talk about next. Just getting my bearings about me right here. Try to get my graphics lined up. No worries. TV, right? Hudson Card, Luke Altmeyer. These are 2 transfer quarterbacks within the Big Ten that I believe are going to have a big-time impact in 2023. But which of these quarterbacks is going to have a bigger impact in 2023? Is it going to be Luke Altmeyer, the former Ole Miss quarterback that is transferring to Illinois? Will it be Hudson Card, the former Texas quarterback that is going to be transferring in to Purdue? I'm going to first look at Hudson Card. Okay, the first thing I think of and the first thing I see with Hudson Card is his efficiency, right? 61% completions in 2021. You look at 69% completions in 2022. And I think he's got good escapability as well. Like, when I look at the talent that is Hudson Card, I think he's going to be a really good fit in Ryan Walters and especially Graham Harrell's system, the new offensive coordinator at Purdue. But when I look around him, I think both of these quarterbacks are pretty good. I think the ceiling for both of these quarterbacks is an above average slot in the Big Ten, right? You've got 14 slots, of course, when you rank your starting quarterbacks. And, that's 6, maybe 5, something like that, 7, 8, somewhere in there. I think that's where these quarterbacks are going to hang out all season long during the 2023 season. So when I dive into this stuff a little bit more, okay, when I look at the weapons that Hudson Card will have at Purdue, I can't help but look at this and just think, I just don't know if there's a number one guy in this Purdue offense like there was the last couple of years. Like you look at David Bell a few years ago. You look at Charlie Jones this year. And I know Charlie Jones was picked up in the spring transfer period after spring practice. So they could still go out and get a number one target to come into West Lafayette. So, I completely understand that still may be on the table. But as we sit here, right now, you look at TJ Sheffield, look at Mershawn Rice, Andrew Sawinski. I'm just not sure if one of those guys could step up and be a number one target in this offense. And I think that's something that really helped out Aiden O'Connell the last few years, right? The second half of the season with David Bell. You look at Charlie Jones and Payne Durham this season. I think the weapons kind of made Aiden O'Connell really into the really good. I know he was a really good quarterback, but I think it was a good marriage, so to speak, between the two. But honestly, I really believe it's the ability of these wide receivers and these pass catchers that really put these quarterbacks over the top. And I think of the same thing when I think of Hudson Card and I think of Purdue. Now let's move on to Luke Altmeyer, the quarterback that I think will make the bigger impact in the Big Ten in 2023. So when you look at Luke Altmeyer, he doesn't have as much reps, he doesn't have as much tape as Hudson Card. So we maybe don't know that much about him. What we know, he's a four-star kid. He was in a quarterback battle with Jackson Dart at Ole Miss and nearly beat him out for the job, but the new guy got the nod down there in Oxford, Mississippi. But here's the thing I know about Luke Altmeyer. He's going to have more weapons. When you look at Isaiah Williams, I think he's going to be one of the biggest playmakers in the Big Ten next season, especially if they throw the ball a little bit more. I'll get to that. Casey Washington, Bat Bryant. I think there's guys in this Illinois receiving corps that can really go out and that can really make plays and that are going to make plays in this particular offense. So the big thing is the running game. Last year, they're really leaning on Chase Brown, right? And the ability of him to just keep his legs churning and keep going in the running game, and that opened things up in the passing game. Okay, can Reggie Love or Josh McCray, can they be that type of running back? I don't think you're going to get a running back like Chase Brown around very often. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're at Michigan. I don't care if you're at Ohio. I don't care where you are. Chase Brown was that kind of running back. Chase Brown was that dude. Okay, so just by that nature, I'm not sure if they're going to lean on the running game a little bit more, which puts the ball into the hands of Luke Altmeyer a little bit more, which then puts the ball into the hands of these wide receivers, Isaiah Williams, Casey Washington, Pat Bryant. All of these guys I think are going to have a bigger role. I believe Luke Altmeyer is going to have a bigger impact in the Big Ten in 2023. But, don't sleep on Hudson Card. If they go out into the portal, they grab a number one guy. This is a Purdue team that could maybe make some noise as well. So I'm really looking forward to see what each one of these guys is made of. I'm really looking forward to see how these guys really play off the other as they move forward in the Big Ten here. Get to some comments, and I think we're going to wrap things up here for tonight. Short little live stream. Wanted to just get on and get a few topics here out to you guys. Big Ten Johnny, hardest working guy in Minnesota television. What the heck is the Hula Bowl? And why is Tanner Morgan playing in it? I believe it is very similar to the Senior Bowl. It is, as it looks like our buddy Rattler Sports Network said, it's Senior Bowl like the College Pro Bowl. So, yeah, it's very much like the Senior Bowl. It's just another version of the Senior Bowl. I know this will break your heart, but it's a less prestigious Senior Bowl, of course, right there. But, yeah, that's what I understand what it was. The bowl game, I don't know if it's still around. It was called the Hawaii Bowl. That used to be called, it was the Aloha Bowl. It was the Hula Bowl. So the Hula Bowl has a little bit of history in terms of being an actual bowl game as well. So Tanner Morgan, what a way to end a career, though, in the Pinstripe Bowl, right? When Ethan Kaliak-Manis goes down and then Tanner Morgan comes in and finishes it off with a bowl victory. What a way to finish off a career. at the University of Minnesota. Going to quick wrap things up here with another question from Rattler Sports Network. Who will win the Big Ten next season? Holy crap, is it early to determine that? I like Michigan. I like Michigan to do it 3 times in a row. You know, what they have, Blake Corum announced he's coming back, Donovan Edwards, J.J. McCarthy, and then you look at Roman Wilson, and there's a few other guys in that receiving core that I think could stand out and do some things. I think they're it right now. Ohio State's it looks like Kyle McCord is gonna come in and be their quarterback. You know, maybe they could be something as well, but you gotta watch out. Look, I'm probably, there's gonna be a lot of people in the comments that are saying, Ted, quit hammering that drum, but I am going to keep hammering that drum. I honestly think that Wisconsin is going to be in the conversation. I honestly think what they've done this year, I wouldn't go so far. You know, Nebraska is going to be around. You know, they've done a lot of good things, and I think eventually Jeff Sims is going to be the guy over Casey Thompson there at Nebraska. I think Nebraska is going to do some things. They're really loading up on offensive and defensive linemen. Maybe they're a couple of years away from really contending, you know, which is kind of unfortunate for them because maybe by that time the West Division will be gone. So yeah, it's very interesting to see which way things are going to end up moving here tonight. I'm very intrigued to see the future of everything that's going on here in the Big Ten, and it's going to be a fun season. I'm already looking forward to Nebraska and Minnesota. That will kick off the Big Ten season here tonight. So I think that'll do it here for tonight's live stream. Just wanted to get a little short live stream out there for everybody to kind of see me in a live setting. Really appreciate everybody for coming out here tonight. But I'm going to wrap this one up. Just got those few topics here that we talked about tonight here on this edition of Big Ten Ted Live. Thanks, everybody. Once again, I'm Big Ten Ted. We will see you in the next one.